PC gaming doesn't have to be expensive. Sure, you can go out and build a budget rig and you can have a pretty good time, but for people just getting into the hobby, that also means they need everything else to go along with it. A keyboard, mouse, mousepad, gaming headset. How can we post on r/battle stations if we don't have an epic level gaming setup? I'm giving myself only $350 to build an entire battle station, and that includes the gaming computer, it includes all the peripherals, and it even includes the desk. At the heart of every battle station is the PC, but with only $350 to spare for the entire setup, I really needed to get creative and build something that will play pretty much every game at a very hopeful 1080p 60 FPS. I could grab an old laptop from the recycling bin, put a $15 cloud service on it and call it a day, but I think that is kind of cheating for this challenge. So I opted to go the Optiplex route. This is the Dell Optiplex 3040 MT. And I'm sure the first thing you'll notice is that it doesn't have the same form factor as most Dell Office PCs that get converted to gaming. It's much more compact and definitely has more space restraints. But for only $50, I couldn't pass it up. This Dell Optiplex came equipped with 8 gigs of DDR3L RAM, an i5-6500, and a 500 gig spinning hard drive. Not the greatest stats in the world, but for $50 I'm not complaining. The i5 processor inside is not particularly strong even for its time. With only 4 cores and 4 threads, we are really limited on modern GPUs, both in terms of strength and space, because there just isn't much room inside this Office PC. Another limiting factor is the power supply. I really didn't want to swap out the PSU to spare the budget, but this Dell Optiplex only has 250 watts of power, which doesn't sound like much. But with the right graphics card, it can turn this destined for the landfill PC into a pretty capable little gaming rig. I knew I wanted to buy used, and after a few days, I finally found this, an RX 580 8GB for only $50 on my local Facebook Marketplace. And if you've never heard of the brand Sanshuku, don't worry, I haven't either. But this is one of those special 2048 SP RX 580s that you can buy new on Amazon for like $100. They are more like a beefed up RX 570 than a true 580, but I'm actually kind of happy about that because we're really pushing the limits of our power supply as it is. This card has a maximum TDP of only 150 watts, giving us 100 watts left over to power our CPU, RAM, and everything else in this machine, which should be perfect without overworking or shutting down the power supply. The Optiplex only came with 8 gigs of RAM, which we technically could have gotten away with, but DDR3L RAM is so plentiful and cheap online, I just went ahead and picked up another 8 gig stick for about $6, giving us 16 gigs total. This is really going to go a long way to making the computer feel much snappier overall and not overburdened. We already have a spinning hard drive, and to be honest, it would technically be fine to game on. But using the PC outside of gaming, man, having an SSD is such a small price to pay for huge increased performance. We don't need anything huge, so I'm just using this 128 gig SATA SSD I got for $10 on Amazon. This is mostly for the boot drive and programs, and we can always add more storage in the future. The only thing left was to get an adapter to power the graphics card. The RX 580 requires a single 8-pin from the power supply, but as I'm sure most of you already know, these proprietary Dell PSUs don't usually have that standard built in. So I picked up this cable for about $5 online that will allow our SATA power connector to convert to the 8-pin on the GPU and give it all the power it needs. I'd normally say to avoid these types of connectors because if used incorrectly, there's a chance some bad things could happen. But knowing we are working with a GPU that has a maximum TDP of only 150 watts, and after doing a lot of research online, this should have no problems in the system, hopefully. Then you just need to close everything up, install unactivated Windows, get some games, and boom, an insane price to performance budget gaming rig that has some modern amenities like using a dedicated graphics card with 8 gigs of VRAM, supporting USB 3.0 for all of your expansion needs, and it actually has a built-in crime deterrent because who the hell is going to try to steal this thing? So all in, this gaming PC cost us $121 of our budget, which I feel like is absolutely insane. We are going to go over the benchmarks later in the video so you can see how this thing performs, but it's a beast at that price point. Alright, the PC is complete, so we can start assembling our battle station. But we don't want to game on the floor, so first things first, we need a desk. Now I'm sure you can guess where I bought the desk I'm using in this video. Here's a hint, it's from a company that is known for selling furniture, very famous on Reddit, sells meatballs. Yep, you guessed it, Tractor Supply. I was able to pick up this folding table at Tractor Supply for only $30. It's 6 feet long, folds in half, has a handle, and will be sturdy enough to hold our computer, a couple monitors, and my 10,000 Funko Pop collection. I'm sure you're already asking, why didn't I just go with a cheap table from IKEA? And yes, that's a good option, and I actually do have one right over there. But look, not everyone lives near an IKEA. And frankly, the type of person who might actually build an entire setup at this price point isn't looking for real furniture to have forever. They might just be getting into the hobby and don't want to spend a lot of money. So you go out and you buy a folding table for 30 bucks today. And when you finally upgrade your desk setup in the future, you still have an incredibly versatile and portable table that you can have for events like LAN parties or birthdays. An old IKEA desk would be much smaller, less portable, and more expensive. Just so you guys know, I used folding tables as my computer desk for like most of my life. Up until like 5 years ago, I always had a folding table because I moved around so much and the table was able to fit into the back seat of a standard car. Now we need some monitors to game on, and honestly I could have cut the budget by a lot if I only included one monitor. But it's 2023 and I really feel like the value of having 2 monitors is worth the extra money. These are actually Amazon basic monitors. Did you know they made monitors? I didn't. Amazon paired with AOC, which is a company that is mostly known for manufacturing monitors, so they might actually be semi-competent. These guys are 24 inches, have built-in speakers, VESA mountable, 1080p, and have an active refresh rate of 75 Hz, so slightly better than our target of 60 FPS. I actually am very impressed with the bezel-less design of these monitors and the specs considering the price point. I bought both of these on sale for only $50 each brand new. This was a flash sale on Amazon a few weeks ago that I was luckily able to jump in on. These monitors usually sell for triple that price, but I'm not sure I would buy them at that normal rate. And if you're trying to recreate this kind of battle station pricing, you probably won't be able to grab these for 50 bucks. But if you check out your local Facebook Marketplace, you will very easily be able to grab 24-inch 1080p monitors for like $20 to $30 each. Many businesses let these monitors go for basically nothing. So just make sure it's 1080p and at least 60 Hz refresh rate. My local marketplace has tons and tons of them, so I really recommend you go that route. You could definitely grab 3 or even 4 monitors for less than $100. Next up, we need some peripherals. Let's start with the mouse. This is the Logitech G203 LightSync wired gaming mouse, which is really the best mouse at this price point in my opinion. I really love the simplicity of it. An elegant white look with RGB lights to really make it pop. The G203 has an 8000 DPI sensor and a 6-button layout, which is more than enough for almost any gamer. You can also use the Logitech software to change the look and feel of the RGB attached if that's your jam. This mouse cost me only $19 on sale at Walmart, and I think its value is worth way more than that. I actually bought this mouse before I made this video because of how good it is. There are a lot of mice at this price point, even from reputable companies like SteelSeries or Corsair, so don't feel like you need to go third party to get a really good mouse. But the mouse needs to glide on a mouse pad, and honestly, this part of the build is optional really. You can always just use a magazine or a piece of paper, but I think adding in a large mouse pad really makes this setup look and feel more premium, as well as helping you game at your best performance. You can grab a simple black XL mouse pad on Amazon for like $8, but if you want to grab one with a cool design, they're pretty readily available for only $15 or $20. I went with this mouse pad that I've been using for my B-roll recently, which is a beautiful minimalistic purple and blue design of a random city. And I know they put a few Japanese words on this, but this ain't Tokyo. Even so, I really like all the straight lines in this mouse pad, and the quality is pretty good. You don't need to get one as big as I have, but I like to have as much room as possible when gaming. Then we need a keyboard, and just like the peripherals, there are a ton of options at this price point, but I really wanted a white mechanical keyboard with brown switches on the cheap. So I chose the Dieria T68SE 60%, an off-brand white keyboard that only has 68 keys, tactile brown switches, and an RGB backlight. Emphasis on the B, I guess. Now, if you're a mechanical keyboard enthusiast, I'm sure you're gonna think this thing is pretty crappy. But for 20 bucks on Amazon, I feel like this is an awesome entryway into mechanical keyboards, and frankly looks pretty good on this all-white battle station. There are so many alternatives at this price point, but most of them are going to be from random, no-name companies. But you can always utilize Amazon's 30-day, no questions asked return policy if you get a keyboard that just feels ick. And if you don't like 60% keyboards, you can obviously pick up whatever size you prefer, you dingus. The battle station is really starting to look real, and honestly, you could stop here and be totally fine. Use the built-in speakers in the monitor, plug an Ethernet cable into a router, and you're ready to game. But if you're like me, you play games online to play with friends. So having a gaming headset is almost imperative for me. This is another rabbit hole you can go down for audiophiles, and there aren't really many hidden gems at this ultra budget, so I just decided to go with a headset mostly based on aesthetics and marketing. This is the Ozino, a wired gaming headset that has RGB, 7.1 surround sound, a noise canceling flexible mic, and a lot of console compatibility. When I mentioned I bought it for the marketing, check out this insane video they are using to advertise these. How can you not buy it after seeing that? They built these things in a cyberpunk world. The audio quality while gaming is actually pretty good. The surround sound was working well when testing it with shooting games, and the headphones were pretty comfortable and soft on my head. I'll be honest, I had very low expectations when I bought this headset, but I actually think it's pretty good for the low price I paid. You might need to be careful if you wear these headphones to school though, as you'll be fighting off all the ladies. It wouldn't be an r/battle station without some RGB goodness on the desk. But instead of opting for some RGB strip lights to go around the edge or the bottom, and heaven forbid we buy those expensive nano leafs for the wall, I picked up these two customizable RGB light bars that are USB powered and can either backlight your monitor or can just sit on your desk as a set piece. These were purchased for only $10 on Amazon from a company called Hit on Ass. So, yeah. Hit on ass. They have an app to sync the RGB with other products or to just have more options when picking your colors. And the app works pretty good. For 10 bucks, I think they look absolutely amazing. It's crazy how cheap RGB has gotten in recent years. These are a totally optional piece of this battle station, but I'm adding it to the overall cost anyway because I feel like we need a few things that might not be 100% necessary, but can add a lot of aesthetics and cozy feelings for only 10 bucks. Because after all, not everything in life is all about performance. And I totally forgot to add a chair to this setup because no one ever talks about chairs on r/battle stations unless they're Herman Millers. So I just grabbed a chair from my kitchen and I suggest you do the same. Buy a good chair when you save up some money. With that said, let's check out the final look at our $350 PC gaming setup. The entire battle station complete, and honestly I am blown away by the results. I knew it would be possible to build a desk setup for this price, but I never imagined it could look this good. But at the heart of every battle station is the gaming computer. So let's talk about how this $120 computer stacks up. I went through and tested all the usual esports titles, CSGO, Valorant, League of Legends, and they all performed as expected. At 1080p, we were seeing frame rates in the 160s and 170s depending on the game. This setup is using monitors that only have 75Hz refresh rate, so I would probably use VSync while playing just to make sure we don't get any tearing. But for the tests and benchmarks, I have it turned off just to see how far we can go. The RX 580 is really pushing itself to its limits. I booted up Grand Theft Auto 5 and ran through its benchmark a few times. At 1080p on very high settings, we were able to finish the test with an average 112 FPS. Now I know this game is 10 years old at this point, but it's still incredibly popular and works as a good baseline for budget machines. You'll have no problem playing this one online and use all the mods you desire. Well, maybe not the 4K texture mods. I'd skip those. Next up is the Hitman 3 benchmark. Hitman 3 came out in 2020 and utilizes some very high-end graphics. The benchmark is actually way more demanding than the actual game. So if you do well in the benchmark, you know you're going to do even better in the game. At 1080p and medium graphical settings, we were able to hit 75 FPS on average, which is kind of perfect for this setup. Once again, the monitor maxes out to 75Hz refresh rate, so hitting around this in a AAA game like this is perfect, and the game plays amazingly well without any hiccups or stutters. Street Fighter 6 came out this year, and it's been super fun to play online. The game caps out at 60 FPS no matter what because fighting game stuff, but with this i5 6500 being pushed to its limit, I was questioning whether we would be able to hit that 1080p 60 FPS. Fighting games are one of those things where frames are everything, so having a steady frame rate is absolutely crucial. With everything on medium, I was able to play at a steady and cool 60 FPS. It plays and looks surprisingly well considering the cost of the computer, and you would have no problem ranking up on this hardware. Maybe don't play on the keyboard like me if you want to get better. And there you have it, PC gaming at an extremely affordable price. I won't include the cost of electricity or internet because that is just too pedantic even for my likes. But I hope this video gave you some ideas on how to build your own budget battle station. And remember, this isn't really a guide on exactly what to buy. This is kind of a jumping off point for you to see what it takes to save some money and how far you can go to make an amazing gaming spot to call your own. If you are interested in building something like this for yourself, I'll drop links to everything in the description below, along with a few alternatives. I doubt you guys are going to go to Tractor Supply, so I left some similarly priced options depending on where you live. Please like the video if it brought value to you, and consider subscribing for more technology content. My name's Jason, thanks for watching.